Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Akulon here, and welcome back to each of one. And of course, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining us. I am very happy to have you here. In today's video, we're looking at Sylvanas. We're taking a look at some of the spoilers that's been surrounding Sylvanas, a possible redemption arc, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts. We're going to be doing some speculation. It's going to be fun. Before we do that, though, I want to invite you to a very exclusive club. In fact, this club is more exclusive than the Mile High Club. And all you have to do for limited time only to gain access to this club is look at that little like button just below the video. Just look at it. Take a good long hard look at it. And then, quick as a tiger, spank it. Just give it a quick spank. Blue. There we go. You're part of the club. And of course, YouTube and myself, thank you for your service. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, Twitch, live, link in description. Patrons, there is a brand new podcast coming your way. If you want to become part of the Fat Fuckers Club, you can join me over on Patreon for just a lot of podcasts, behind the scenes, exclusive, early access stuff. It's all there. Go, don't take my word for it. Just go check it out. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. All right, time for us to talk about Sylvanas. Enough of this bollocks. As most of you should know, if you watched my video yesterday, the link should be up here, right? You can just check it out there with Morgan Day. Salute interview with Morgan Day. Morgan Day had a moment, which, I mean, the entirety of the interview had nothing to do with spoilers or with lore in general, but for this one part where he was talking very specifically about the weapons and why some classes won't get access to weapons on the final boss or the final two bosses, which means that their weapons would be lower item level and all the rest of it. And then he said, well, they kind of had to do this with Castle Nathria because they had these very cool weapons that was all Covenant themed, but they really had no way of really dropping them within the raid, because it's not going to make sense that, you know, Denathrius has a staff from Ardenweald. That would just never make sense. So they weren't sure how they were going to go about actually gifting players these awesome weapons, and they decided, look, let's get a token system. That way it's the Covenant that rewards you for killing Denathrius, and it sort of made sense. With Sylvanas, on the other hand, and this is where things get really sort of weird, he said, you're going to take her bow and you're going to loot it off of her. And then he sort of stopped. He paused. He wasn't sure what he was supposed to say there. And then he said, corpse. Yeah, corpse. And literally like that. Corpse. Yeah, corpse. So in other words, just to be very clear with you guys, I've spoken to enough of the Blizzard developers to know that they go through extensive media training, right? They know what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. Blizzard does not give access to their high-level staff and developers unless these people know how to handle the media. So if a question comes out that could be spoiler related, they know how to circumvent it. Believe me, I've experienced the dread of trying to get anything out of WoW developers. It's nearly impossible to do so unless it's someone that is interested in leaking information, which is an entirely different story, of course. Now, in this instance, Morgan Day clearly stopped himself because he was making sure that he could actually say that would not be wrong. Now, players rejoiced. As I was watching it, I saw a lot of people in chat going, finally, she's gonna die. Yes, we're gonna kill her. It's her corpse. We're gonna loot it. Technically, though, she's a corpse already. Even if she does not die, she is still a corpse. So just keep that in mind. She doesn't have to die for you to be able to loot the bow off of her. She could just hand it over to you freely, or maybe you thwarted her and she is weak and now you can take the bow off of her living corpse. Whichever way it is, there is a couple of things to note here. There's no death animations yet found on the PTR nodes or in the Datamined nodes that shows Sylvanas in a state of dying or close to dying. Now, a lot of that could be down to they already have those death animations on the model, and therefore it doesn't matter. Now, I genuinely don't think that will be the case. Usually with bosses, we do have some kind of death animation that comes into play within the Datamined quest text or within the Datamined information. We had this with Ajara, for example, where we could clearly see that she was still alive, still breathing, but on the ground and no longer fighting, right? So none of this is currently in the Datamined notes. At least I haven't seen anything to that effect. What we do know is Blizzard is continuously updating Sylvanas' model, which, for those of you that don't know, that's a lot of work that goes into making a character and then sort of updating the model just so that you can kill off the model later. I genuinely doubt that Blizzard would be doing this. So I don't think Sylvanas is going to die. I still believe, and this is where we get into some speculation more than anything else, but I still believe that a part of Sylvanas is tasting us. I think that we're being tasted at every single turn. If you guys remember back to Battle for Azeroth, where the Loyalists, in their final sort of campaign quest for Sylvanas, she said, "When next you see me, you will understand." In other words, we're going to see something. Sylvanas is going to show us something. Now, as someone that cares very much about free world, that cares very much about the freedom that I have, I said from day one, when I first got into the Shadowlands and I first learned about the Covenants and the way the Shadowlands functions, it was just an ideological clash with my belief system, with how I want to live my life, especially in the afterlife, right? And so I understood immediately what Sylvanas was trying to do, and I agreed with that. Now, that doesn't mean that that is all Sylvanas is trying to do. Remember, a large part of Sylvanas' suffering was at the hands of the jailer, or at least people who served the jailer, and she must be aware of this. There's no way that anyone can tell me that she doesn't know at this point that Zuvul controlled, or at least to some extent influenced Arthas' actions. There's no way that you can tell me that Zuvul isn't behind a lot of her sort of, her misery. Now, that's sort of one part of this, right? Just quickly talking about what Sylvanas is up to and why she's doing what she's doing. But I realize for a lot of players, that's not enough, right? There's a large group of people. I sort of do believe that Blizzard at the moment is in a very big catch-22, where I genuinely don't know how they either kill her or save her without pissing off a lot of the player base, right? A massive portion of the player base could lose their minds over what is happening here. But there's another piece of this puzzle that we sort of have to discuss as well. I'm up here now, so let's take a look at this very quickly. I'm just quickly going to zoom in here. This, of course, is from World of Warcraft Folks and Fairy Tales. Now, I went down to my local bookshop yesterday. I ordered the book. After almost 2 months of trying to get a bookstore that was willing to order the book for me, I finally found a bookstore, actually a bookstore that I didn't even know was this close to me, but I found a bookstore and they were willing to order the book for me. Sadly, I'm going to have to buy the book as an ebook to get it day one, and then I'm probably going to have to wait almost 6 to 8 weeks to actually get my hands on the physical copy, but that's neither here nor there. That's got nothing to do with this conversation. This is from Vereesa Windrunner. This is the short story, of course. Folks and Fairy Tales, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is a collection of short stories that Blizzard has been working on for quite some time, and its release is May 25. So hopefully, there's a lot of people that already got copies of their books, and they've sort of been leaking things all throughout the week. There's been massive leaks around these things, but with Vereesa Windrunner's short story, something very interesting happens. She is in a dream, and she sees things in this dream that is very much applicable to the Sylvanas conversation. So here is what she sees, and this is her seeing Sylvanas. But was it truly her soul? It seemed only a fragment somehow, a sliver of her, dancing with light, a little baby mithril hate drought, with her knowing eyes staring back at me, nuzzling the wool fur that covered my palm. Mist seeped away into the pelt and dripped back into the mire. Any piece of her was worth enduring this trial. Now, for those of you that don't quite understand why, Vereesa loves her sister very much. The day Sylvanas turned into a banshee, or was turned into a banshee, was a heavy day for Vereesa, because even after everything, she loves Sylvanas, and she would probably do just about anything to save her sister. The fish fragment shimmered and thrashed in my hood, and then it was her. All of her, standing as tall as she ever did, poised as if to run on the edge of a land abhorrent to her nature. Her golden hair in a long braid, her grey. Now, this is a screenshot, of course, from the book, from Folks and Fairy Tales, and what it describes here is what we've already seen with Uther. A split soul. Now, I've made this point in the past numerous times. Alex, if you can bring up Warbringer's Sylvanas, and the moment that she is literally stabbed by Arthur's sword, I just want you to focus on this. So, Alex, put that on the big screen. I don't even have to be in the frame right now. But what I want you to focus on is, as she gets stabbed, Frostmourne activates. And you see a split. You see a part of Sylvanas being dragged in. There's sadness there. There's agony in that moment. And what you see coming out is hatred and anger. I made this point probably 2.5 years ago, right? When that Warbringer first came out, I said something happened here. Whatever this Sylvanas is, it's not the whole Sylvanas. This is one that is sort of overtaken with grief and anger and hatred for just about everything. So this might be a possible, shall we call it, redemption arc that Blizzard may or may not be going down. I'm not saying that that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Obviously, a lot can still happen. But in my mind, Blizzard might try to sell the idea that Sylvanas' soul was split, and that if we could reunite her with that other part of her soul, that would be the thing that eventually saves her. It might actually be what she's after, right? It may very well be that Sylvanas is after that piece of her soul, and in order to gain access to that piece of her soul, she has to help Zuval. Zuval might be keeping that piece of her soul in that little portal thing that he reached into to, you know, make Shalamorn or Kingsmorn, which I'm still very salty about. But this is a possible redemption arc for Sylvanas. Do I like it? No, I genuinely don't. I personally don't want Sylvanas to be redeemed by feeling sorry for the things that she's done, or by people feeling sorry for her for what she's been put through, right? Because I already know, I just want to make clear this to Blizzard, there is an immense amount of people that lacks the critical thinking to understand what it would even mean. So there is genuine people that would, even though we see Sylvanas was split and that the good side of her was never with her, and this side was a side that was completely twisted, there would still be people that say, oh, she can't be forgiven for mass murder, she can't be forgiven for this, as if the Alliance has never been guilty of any of that shit, and yet many of the people that was actually involved in those actions still live to this day, and nothing happened to them. They didn't pay any sort of price. So there's still going to be idiots like that. There's just nothing anyone can do about it. So Blizzard, you're never going to convince the players that lack critical skill, or the players that just hate Sylvanas so much that they can't even think for a second that she should be saved, or that she could be saved. You're not going to convince them. As for a loyalist like myself, you're not going to convince me that this is necessarily a good thing. I just don't want this. I don't think Sylvanas requires a sort of sorry moment. I think she should just be badass until the end. If that means she dies, then she dies, but she should remain badass until the end, unapologetic, and just who she is. So I'm not sure. Remember, this is a dream, so this isn't necessarily really happening. There's every reason to believe that Vereesa wasn't actually there and wasn't actually interfering or sort of seeing her sister's soul. It was just a dream. This might actually lead to Vereesa entering the Shadowlands to look for that other part of her sister's soul. And then, of course, there is also the possibility, and I don't want to say this, but there is the possibility that we kill Sylvanas. We loot her and she is dead, but then we discover the other soul fragment. And the other soul fragment leads to the real Sylvanas coming back, the Ranger General, so to speak, Sylvanas making a return. This is also a possibility. Don't know how I feel about it, but it is a possibility nonetheless. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. So write me up, tell me what you think, tell me where you land on any of these theories. Do you agree, disagree? Where exactly do you stand? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Remember to slap that like button, quick spank, exclusive club. You know what to do. And then, of course, to all of the patrons, the Twitch subs, and the YouTube channel members, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. It does mean the world to me. Thanks to you guys, this channel is still growing, and it's growing stronger every single day. I quite literally wouldn't be here without you, so I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Guys, it was my name is Aquilon, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out, fam.